Good day, everyone. For teleSUR, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. We start off with our special coverage in Colombia. After a brief pause and standoff, the country's historic peace talks could restart again. The FARC guerrilla leadership announced Thursday that they will free General Rubén Darío Alzate, who they captured in the state of Choco earlier this week. The capture had led to the halting of the two-year-long peace talks aimed at ending the country's armed conflict. The Colombian government announced its military would leave the Choco area after having previously sent military reinforcements to the region. Now, according to officials, the measure is being taken in order to facilitate the release of the general. And now we go to Mexico for our ongoing coverage there of a mass movement. Massive protests are set in Mexico City for Thursday, with thousands expected to take to the streets. After touring the nation, a caravan led by the relatives of the victims is expected to join the marches. Meanwhile, President Enrique Peña Nieto issued a personal assets report to ease widespread criticism and corruption accusations. The Mexican president has said that he will expand on the financial report on Thursday, following claims that the disclosures are outdated. And for more now on the actions planned for today in Mexico, we go to our correspondent Clayton Kahn in Mexico City.
Mexico celebrates today the 104th anniversary of its 1910 revolution. The official event usually includes a military parade in the main Zócalo Square in the nation's capital. However, this year the event has been moved to a military base in another area of the city due to the calls for yet another mega march in solidarity with Ayotzinapa. Now, we are expecting to see the arrival of 3 different caravans of the families and classmates of those disappeared 43 Ayotzinapa students, who will lead 3 different march routes in the city center to ultimately converge in the Zócalo Square later this afternoon. With nearly 2 months since police in Iguala Guerrero attacked the students, daily protests and actions have only intensified, increasing a poor or negative image and lack of trust with Mexico's highest authorities, including the country's president, Enrique Peña Nieto. In fact, calls have been growing for Nieto to resign, while opposition parties are calling for his impeachment. We'll give you updates on the day's actions and protests. This is Clayton Kahn reporting for teleSUR here in Mexico City.
Thanks to Clayton. We go to Venezuela now, where an economic shakeup appears likely after President Nicolas Maduro signs 28 far-reaching laws. He signed the laws via presidential decree. Maduro was granted those special decree powers in November 2013 by the Venezuelan National Assembly. They are set to expire this month. To explain, here's our correspondent, Rachel Boothroyd.
The Venezuelan government has said that the 28 laws will profoundly change the way the country operates before the end of 2015. They are principally aimed at securing fair economic development.
This reform, by presidential decree, will perfect the law of fair prices.
Passed by presidential decree this Tuesday, the laws promise a tightening up of the country's economic system, while an anti-monopoly law will pave the way for the government to tackle private sector control over certain areas in the economy. Another law pledges to reform the country's tax system. Mechanisms which have traditionally permitted tax evasion will be eliminated, and taxes on items considered to be luxury goods will be raised to 15%. The government says it's an attempt to redistribute income more equitably in a country where more than 32% of revenue still belongs to the top 5% of the population, despite being the most equal country in Latin America, according to the United Nations.
It's about reform from a fiscal perspective, about generating the basis or the foundation for a tax system which allows a different way of managing income in the country, and which has a specific orientation towards social needs.
Several other laws are aimed at stimulating national production. For Doctor in Development Studies Miguel Contreras, the move is part of a series of government measures designed to establish an alternative economic system.
It's about working from the inside, endogenous development. It's about progressively weakening the strength of commercial and profiteering capitalism, which has existed for more than 200 years in our country.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has said that he will announce further laws by presidential decree over the coming days. Rachel Boothroyd for teleSUR in Caracas, Venezuela.
Thanks to Rachel. Taking a look at world news now, we go to the United States, where President Barack Obama will address the nation on Thursday night to lay out his immigration plans. Now, the president says he is willing to approve new reforms through an executive order bypassing Congress. It comes after Republicans in both the House and the Senate announced that they will oppose the reforms. The action could further entrench Latino support for Democrats. In recent years, Hispanics in the U.S. have heavily shifted their support in favor of the party. Staying in the United States, we go to Ferguson, Missouri. Our correspondent Alexandra Hall is standing by awaiting a grand jury decision on whether to indict the officer who killed Michael Brown. Alexandra.
6 people were arrested on Wednesday night as they blocked the street in front of the Ferguson police station. The arrests are the first this week as the public here in St. Louis and around the country waits for a grand jury decision on whether or not Officer Darren Wilson will face criminal charges for the fatal shooting of Michael Brown. The protests of about a dozen people occurred just hours after national media reported that the grand jury will likely review final evidence on Friday, and if so, they will make a final decision by that evening. In either case, law enforcement will reportedly be given 48 hours notice before the public is notified. School districts will also be given at least 3 hours notice, and parents have been told in this area that they can pick up their kids at any time on that day. Now, if St. Louis County Prosecutor Bob McCulloch is right and that a decision will be announced by the end of the month, then we will know this weekend or next week, although official sources have not confirmed a date or a time. In St. Louis, I'm Alexandra Hall for teleSUR.
In other world news, a report released on Thursday by the United Nations shows that 13 people are killed in Ukraine every single day. That figure comes despite a ceasefire that was put in place in September in the eastern part of the country. Over 900 deaths have come since the ceasefire was officially announced. The report also confirms that Ukraine has been using banned weapons such as cluster bombs. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian government has refused any direct talks with the rebels. Russia has called on both sides to resume talks. To the continent of Africa now, thousands of Egyptians joined a nationwide hunger strike Thursday in rejection of an anti-protest law approved by President Abdel Fattah Sisi. Enacted last year, the law has led to the arrest of thousands of Egyptians. Meanwhile, the Egyptian government arrested the fugitive Muslim Brotherhood leader Mohammed Ali Bishir. His arrest comes after 25 protesters were detained in Cairo on Wednesday. And in the Middle East, clashes between Palestinians and Israelis continued on Thursday after Jerusalem's local government authorized the construction of over 70 new houses in occupied East Jerusalem. Palestinians took to the streets in anger. The new housing projects are part of a larger 4,000 house settlement plan. The Palestinian government condemns the new housing projects and accuses Israel of deliberately heightening tensions. Acclaimed director Mike Nichols passed away suddenly on Wednesday at the age of 83. He was a 9-time Tony Award winner on Broadway and an Oscar-winning director of films such as Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf and The Graduate. Nichols was one of the few people to win an Oscar, Tony, Emmy, and Grammy Awards. Actress Meryl Streep described him as always being the smartest and most brilliant person in the room. ABC News President James Goldston called him a true visionary. We have plenty more on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For teleSUR English, I'm Cody Weddle. Have a great day.